a little bit, but not that much so. So keep on posting your projects. People can see those projects and find the connections. So this is a good way to promote your project still. We keep it online there. Keep on posting those lessons learned. We will check them later in this session. But now I give the floor directly to Rob. So go ahead, Rob.
Okay, thank you, Kai, and thank you for that short break. It gave me a chance to have a little caffeine boost, which I definitely needed. Still need. So I'm going to talk about the role of open source software in enhancing privacy and data protection. When I proposed this topic, I don't know, maybe 9 months ago or so, it was kind of the chief thing on my mind. And I will still talk about this, but I also want to talk about what I've been doing in the last 6 months related to this topic, which is basically a new project. Also, since this is a workshop, I wasn't really sure what to expect, but I thought it would be a good idea to make you, the audience, work a little bit, and I can stand back. So I have some questions I'd like to pose to you. First, who knows who this little guy is? Okay, raise your hand if you don't know who this guy is. That's good, because basically they won't let you into Finland if you don't know who this guy is. There's going to be border control guys at the port, and they're going to ask you who this is. So this is, of course, the Linux penguin, and I won't tell the story behind it. But the second question is, why do we know this guy? Does anyone care to answer? When I ask questions to students in Finland, I generally get this response. They don't want to, but this is an international audience. So why does everyone in this room know this character?
Most popular operating system.
Most popular operating system. And what is special about this operating system?
Open source.
Open source, thank you. The title a little bit of the talk gives it away. What else? It's open source, but it's also
Free.
Thank you. So this is really
costless.
Sorry?
Costless.
Costless or free, yeah. It's not completely free, but it's low.
In Finland.
Yeah, that's also great. Okay, how many of you know this guy? Or girl, I don't know. Nobody. Okay, that's because this is a new project, and this is the first time I'm publicly talking about it, so it's not surprising. But I hope if Kai lets me come back next year, everyone will raise their hand and know about this. Does anyone know what bird this is?
Yeah,
it's a magpie. You see them all over Finland, and I think much of Europe. So I want to talk a little bit about this new project I've been working on the last 6 months together with partners. We're 8 organizations in the consortium, and we just submitted a proposal to the European Commission Horizon 2020 program last Thursday, 58 seconds before the deadline. Have any of you submitted proposals to Horizon 2020? Or I know you have, so many of you. Terrible experience. I don't recommend it to anyone, but this is what we decided to do, and hopefully we get the funding. So what do we want to do? I'm not going to talk too much about this project, but I think it's relevant to many of the discussions we've had. So Magpie, originally I had this long technical name for the project, but at the last minute I simplified it. I said we want to make a great privacy innovation ecosystem. It's a little bit of a nod to my favorite president, Donald Trump, but only slightly. So, and I don't say make privacy great again, because actually, and I think the words here are important. Privacy, innovation, ecosystem, and especially ecosystem is really important. We don't want to build an operating system or a stack, per se, in architecture. We want to build an ecosystem which has many different parts. Some are technical, some are non-technical, organizational, people, contracts, many things. And I was going to ask you, what is Linux? So Linux, or the Linux kernel, is the kernel of an operating system. But really, to me, Linux, even more than an operating system or a kernel, it's an ecosystem, right? Where you have thousands and thousands of different software tools, many of them open source, and they're all interoperable. We've been hearing this word interoperable. Of course, it didn't start with Linux. It has a long heritage, but what was revolutionary about Linux is this guy from Finland said on a mailing list or a news group, he said, all this talk about Linux and blah, 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 blah. Here's an open source kernel that I've been working on. You can download it from this FTP server, check it out, let me know what you think. And this was absolutely revolutionary. He said it was free. I don't think there was even any license in the beginning, maybe a copyright statement. But it was free, it was open source. And I think it's not an overstatement to say that this little action really transformed the world, as we know, because so many things are built on top of the Linux ecosystem. So we want to do a similar thing for personal data. Not necessarily develop an operating system, but an ecosystem. And this is just kind of a notional picture of what we think it could look like, but during this project, we'll invest a lot of effort together with many of you, I hope, to figure out how this ecosystem should function, what it should look like, technical and non-technical aspects. Another question, I think this one is going to pop up in screen, I hope, so if you want to answer there. But if anyone's brave and willing, the next question is, why is open source even an issue, or why is it important in the personal data protection space? Anyone care to answer? Yes, please.
Independent audit, maybe?
Yeah, that's very important. Yeah. What else? This gives me a chance to have more coffee.
Well, for widespread adoption, you really need open source.
I agree. Anything else? Yeah? Accountability, yeah, I think that's also related somehow.
We should not pay, it's community.
Sorry?
We should not pay for that, it's community.
Yeah, it's a commodity, it's belonging to the community, the world. If it's open source and has a nice license.
You can create variations if you're not happy with one project.
Which is a good and sometimes a bad thing, but overall a good thing, I think. Yeah?
Easier to be an ecosystem.
Yeah, it's the foundation, I think, of the ecosystem. Yeah, you already answered. What else?
I think the most important one is on the screen, transparency. Without open source, you do not have transparency. What happens with your data, which is what we have today, right?
Yeah, I think this is key. So maybe I cut it off there. So it's related to what many of you said, but in the personal data space, we need to build trust. If we're a MyData operator or a data controller or a data processor even, we need to engender trust with those who we have the privilege and the honor to do something with their data. So we need to build trust, and how do we do that? I think first and foremost through transparency, and how can we be most transparent is to show exactly how our software is operating. How many of you have WhatsApp installed on your phone? Yeah, many of you. How many of you have an open source messaging app installed on their phone? Some of you. I did it, I think it was Pernille last year during her talk, suggested Wire as an open source messaging app. I went and downloaded it. I've been trying to convince all my family and friends to use it, and I've been pretty successful in that. So I try to use that as much as possible. So what is the difference between using something like Wire and using something like WhatsApp? Both are end-to-end encrypted communication tools, right? Great technology. But what is the difference? I mean, one is open source, one is not. So what is the effect of this? 2 minutes, okay. What is the effect of this difference? Yeah?
That if you're clever and brave enough, you can look up the source and
yes.
make sure that's what you
Anyone can do that. see exactly what it, anyone in theory could do that, okay? And maybe not everyone will do that, but the point is there are some people who have the capability who can do that, and we may or may not trust the people that do that. I've looked into the source. I'm not an expert. I haven't read every line, but just the fact that somebody can do that and spot issues is really important. Okay, I have very limited time, but basically one of the key messages I want to give is that we're trying to build this open source ecosystem. It's very much related to Simon's issue. We need a space, if you will, a creative innovation space where we can all come together and collaborate. Semantics is a key part of this. I don't think it's the only part of this, but it's a very key part of this. So yeah, I'm really happy you all gave answers, but it took time, so I'll skip some of these slides. The point is, there are a lot of tools. There are hundreds of relevant tools and software out there. I mean, I'm learning about them every hour as I attend this kind of conference. So this list, this is not a canonical list, but it's really huge. Some of these on the list are open source, some are not. So they're relevant in different ways to our project, but we need to understand what is available, how can we use it, how can we get these tools together in some kind of light, interoperable framework. Is the time dead? Okay, so last question. Are you convinced that open source is sort of an ecosystem is the way forward to solve many of the issues that we've been talking about today?